sanctuary if you're ready tonight. I know that it's all so heavy. Won't you let me inside? 'Cause I could be your sanctuary.
What's up guys, hope everyone is doing well. In today's video I'm going to be going over this general updates that I've been touching on recently, starting off with Bitcoin, then going into the New York Stock Exchange, XYO, Phantom, JASMY, THETA, TRIAS, Dogecoin, and then I'll be adding two new other coins that I haven't touched on this channel before at the end under the signs of CRU and CSM. But to go ahead and get it started out here for a quick update on this weekly chart right here, as we can see, honing in on our current price action right here, we can see that for the most part, pretty much at this point, about 2/3 of our current candle, which we just recently started and began, and I had been mentioning many times with respect to this weekly chart and also this 2-weekly chart right here as well in my recent videos. As I said, about 2/3 of the candle is out of it. We have very solidly here on this weekly chart broken above this 55.9 RSI threshold, which if I were to go all the way back in time, this is what, as long as we break this, which we have, and we continue to stay above it, similar to how we did back here, which would also, it's what happened for every other previous bull market, then we will continue to move towards the upside here. But something that I believe is highly strengthening, that is, first off of this daily chart right here, you can see, so if we, before I touch on the bullish scenario that I'm going to be talking about, if we end up seeing this bear trap that I've been mentioning, which correlates back to something that we saw in the 2014 to 2015 bear market. And the reason why I bring this up is because structurally wise, harmonic wise, in terms of the price movements since this bear market began, the current bear market that we are in is most closely related to the bear market of 2014 and 2015. But so if we do see this bear trap, we could likely come back down to, first off, right here at around 19.4 thousand. And then if lower than that, worst case scenario, like I've been saying, we will just very likely come down and retest our lowest lows with a median price of around 16.2 thousand, which also, as you can see right here, just lines up with this trend line range, which is pretty much kind of like the median trend line of this entire bear market that you can see right here, pretty obviously and pretty clearly. But if we actually zoom in closer here, we can see right now that we are getting currently, essentially we've gotten rejected off of these two smooth moving averages, which are part of the pi cycle high. It's the, I actually forget what specifically it is, but like I said, it's these two top ones right here. So it's the low long smooth moving average of 464 and the low short estimated moving average of 307. So I believe we're going to get rejected off of this, as you can currently see that we're doing right now, just to a minor degree. But if we don't enter this bear trap, which I've been mentioning and just mentioned, I believe we will likely come down and then retest this uppermost trend line, which again is this one right here on this daily, and then also going back into this weekly is pretty much the exact same trend line. We're just zooming in here, obviously, which this is lining up around 21.3 thousand in general. I actually drew this price target 21,382, which I just find rather ironic because 0.382 is it's a Fibonacci retracement. It's actually where we set our low in right here, as you can see. So these three purple lines right here are basically, the middle one's the 0.382, and I just deviated by, I'm actually not sure what I did. So it's the 0.382, 0.345, and the 0.419. I think I added like 0.037 or something like that. So approximately 0.0382 to each of those, or I subtracted it and then also added it. And that's what I did up here for this top range that I have set, as I've been mentioning in my previous videos, which I'll have as the first card linked at the beginning of this video, the video which I break down very extensively and elaborately my whole macro projection for Bitcoin, which I believe is about the most logical, reasonable, well thought out way you can look at it, because it is inherently has its argumentative crux in the halving, i.e. pretty much so the mathematics of Bitcoin's mining process, etc. But in general, as I've been saying, 200 to 300,000 I believe is where the next top is going to be at this point, which again is what I elaborate on the video I have as a card at the beginning of this video. I believe we'll see a similar double top according to the current phase that we're in within our current cycle 3 for Bitcoin. Basically going to see a self-similar repeat of March 2020 to November of 2021 when we hit 69,000. So worst case scenario, well, best worst case scenario, assuming we are getting rejected right here, we come down and we test this and we continue to go higher from here and we don't see that bear trap. And if we come down to this approximately $19,000 range, I wouldn't consider that the bear trap. If the bear trap happens, it's likely down to the previous lows. I would just say this first marked box right here around approximately 19.5 thousand in general, would just kind of just be a overextended, in quotes, healthy retracement. But again, zooming out here, like I said, in general, 200, 300,000, we will start to hit the, I believe, 200 to 250,000 will be this first top high range right here, which is going to push more towards end of November, December of this year, January, February of 2024, and then we'll come down, and then we will begin to make that double top towards around 6, 7, 8 months into 2024, so around June, July, August. So if we hit, I believe if we hit around, as you can see here, around 250, 243 approximately thousand, and the next high will be around 264,000. If we push towards around 270,000, which is what lines up with this 1.382 right here on this fib channel that I'm using, then I would believe we would likely for the second high extend all the way up as close to approximately 300,000, right at around 298,000. But as I mentioned, best worst case scenario, assuming we get this bull bounce into this bull market that I'm speaking about, the first peak will be around approximately 220,000, and the second peak would be more so around, let's see, around 243,000. So it would pretty much just, this first top of 243,000 would drop about $20,000, and then this first top that I have right here of around 243,000 will become this second top right here. But again, like I said, in general, next bull market, I believe, according to everything that I have looked into, and again, like I said, I feel like it's pretty much the best way to look at it in terms of the price structure. What the upcoming bull market could be according to that. But so far, we currently here on this 2-weekly chart have 12 days left in our current candle. If we go to the weekly, we have 5 days left in our current candle. So let's start going back to this daily chart. If we continue to get, and actually I'm gonna go back real quick. So I'm taking this fractal pattern starting from this area right here, because as you can see, if we go, as I've been saying, we're going to see self-similar movement with respect to things from the March crash to November of 2021 for Bitcoin. You can see how we had right here, back here, we had our one pump, retracement, second pump, retracement, and then pretty much a minor consolidation. Then we see the second movement upwards. So I believe we are basically going to see, and are essentially have already seen, again, just in a self-similar way, right here. Did I not paste this? I don't even know. Anyways, so I'll just redraw it, but as you can see, we basically got one, obviously you can see here, this is a very minor drawback that we saw. Again, like I said, it's going to be self-similar, it's not going to be exact, but, and even this fractal pattern on here is not, it's not going to follow through exactly, but I believe we'll likely get the first, you know, in quotes, somewhat major retracement that we've seen so far since this this major breakout that we've seen, and we'll kind of just maybe see some more slightly sideways consolidation right here until we head to the second area right here, which I've been saying for quite some time in general should be around 28, which is lines up with our 800 estimating moving average, up to around 32, approximately 33,000 or so, which is what lines up with our 0.618 again of this fib channel, which I have it drawn. So the two lows are from previous bear market of 2018 bottom to the March crash, and then to the $69,000 top that we set again in November 2021. And also this just nicely correlates with the fact, so assuming price sees this minor retracement, we see this big pump again, we will blow through 25,000, which for the most part I've kind of been mentioning more so of a pump to 25,000 at this point. Given that we've already wicked all the way up to 24,000, I would say essentially this general area back here has pretty much already been met for the most part. So I would see us getting this retracement more likely, and then just blowing straight through 25,000 again up towards this range that I spoke about, around 28 to 32,000. What we'll likely see here is is we'll see this estimated moving average right here kind of just do something like this. We may even go a little bit below it when we get right here, but eventually the price is just going to go parabolic way above it at some point. Whenever this actually ends up playing out, assuming what I'm saying at the end of the day is actually going to end up happening. Again, this isn't financial advice. I just have this channel because it passes my time and I just find it fun to do. And it's me really, at the end of the day, just kind of posting my ideas online above all else. But hopefully we will see this scenario play out. We won't get this retracement back to 19,000 approximately in general, 18.8 thousand to 19.8 thousand, so $1,000 range there. If we do end up seeing this drop down to this first box right here, I think at that point it would give us a 50-50 likelihood of coming back down to test our previous lows and actually falling throughout that bear trap that I mentioned. And again, what's more, maybe, again, like I said, everything I'm saying is wrong and we continue to go even lower. The next fib retracement for this channel is going to be approximately 12.2 thousand, which is what is also lining up with this light green, I forget what it is on this 350-day moving average band that I'm using. It is the, let's see here, I should really try to remember these better than I do, but unfortunately I don't. Alright, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyways, the point is, you can see this is what we set our bottom end back here from June of 2022 to July of 2022, just getting shy of it towards about halfway into July. So I'd have to guess that if we do see that drop down again, we will head more towards approximately 12,000 rather than straight down to like 10,000 or so. Again, let's see, let's just go all the way back here to our previous March crash. You can see that's what we wicked to right here. It's also what we hit back here. If we go to the previous bear market, well, the second most previous bear market, so we hit right here. Never once have we touched this darker blue one down here, so I don't believe, I mean, it could happen. Again, a lot of things have changed in this current cycle, and Bitcoin is getting more just decayed over time and having kind of losing a lot of its strength and its oomph over time. But right now, just as a summarization of everything I've been talking about with Bitcoin, right now it is imperative to make sure that it finds support at approximately 21.5 thousand. If it starts to significantly close candles below, again, that general range, 21.5 to 21.3 thousand below this black trend line right here, and also below this 200 estimating moving average, which is this white one right here, with strength, volume support, etc. Especially if we start to, on this daily, this RSI starts to get entrenched once more below this yellow dash line of 51.5, that will not be a good thing to see either. Here, if we just go to this 45-minute chart, we did get, with this most recent drop, this is the highest chart that I believe it's printing on right now. We did not get them for the hourly chart. So the 45 minutes printing these vector candles right here, you can see we got a bullish divergence to negative, have a negative support right here for price, and right here the RSI was more so exaggerated, borderline bullish divergence if anything. So that means it's not super strong, which means we could continue to go lower here, but it is nice that we got these pink vectors. Hopefully that will signify, as you can see, kind of like the last time we got them here on this 45-minute chart was all the way back here at the actual, pretty much the lowest lows we set, also right here as well. But majorly we got them right here. As we printed these three downsides, we started to get our bullish divergence a little bit, and then we went a little bit lower right here, but the RSI essentially was higher than it had been for the most part back here, so that's why we didn't really print them. Which, again, that could also mean that we are actually more likely to see, as I said, we could get the, as we have gotten these pink vector candles right here, this will signify, as you can see, we set the, so the low right here, perhaps we're going to come down, the RSI will see another drop again. It'll end up going higher than this area back here did, so maybe somewhere like right here in this bubble or somewhere in that general range. We'll see the RSI go down there, but the price will go down to, I mean, let's say worst case scenario, we get something at least somewhat similar to what we got. I need to change the left side too. We'll get something similar to this, which just takes us down to, as you can see, 21.6 thousand, which is, like I was just got done going over, what lines up with going down and retesting this. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and say I believe this is actually more likely that we'll actually see this one more final drop, and hopefully we'll see the RSI, like I said, kind of we'll see this continued draw at something like this. Let's go ahead and take a range right here. Yeah, I know I just drew it straight through RSI points, but as you can see, it's just creating this general range right here. We will likely see, if I had to guess, the here it is, the brush, the RSI, maybe just do something like this, and then we'll something along these lines if I had to guess, assuming we do actually continue to go to the $21.5 thousand range, which again right now is what I'm banking on. It'll act as, we haven't really gotten a major cool off so far. It'll act as a great bounce to confirm this. Let's see, I mean, this has been since November of 2021 all the way down to our bottom. I mean, it's been over a year and a half pretty much. I mean, it's been over 2 years actually, about 2 years and 2 months or so, 2 years and a month. So again, hopefully we'll see this bounce right here. Or my bad, we'll actually, more accurately, I think more healthily, we'll need to see this actually come down again on this 15-minute. But that is pretty much all that I wanted to go over here for the Bitcoin price. Here for the New York Stock Exchange, again, we can see right here, overall prices having a positive slope, as you can see from this point. Let's go and get some bubbles on them. From here to here, you can clearly see that we're essentially getting bearish divergence on a more longer term from these two relative local highs, and then even on a smaller time frame, as you can see, we have positive resistance right here, and then down here on the RSI negative resistance, also on stock RSI and also on the MACD as well. If we zoom out some more right here, you can see on the MACD, obviously, as I just said, we are getting that bearish divergence as well, just in alignment with this M structure pattern that we've seen ever since we reached this high range back here for the New York Stock Exchange, in relative alignment with Bitcoin. I believe we'll continue to go down to the downside here, is my personal opinion. We could continue to go up for all we know. If we do, we'll enter this red box. And like I've been saying, likely that would probably initiate a bear trap, or maybe not for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will continue to go up anyways. I personally think the decoupling is in the early stages of ensuing, as I've been saying for quite some time. But at the end of the day, I don't claim to know everything. And obviously, not everybody knows everything. But even if we go to this daily here, you can see again we're getting bearish divergence on this MACD. We're just seeing another M pattern basically. I believe we'll see fold out right here towards this downside. Something like that. Like the pattern. And again, like I just said, I find it ironic that especially if Bitcoin continues going up at the stock exchange, we'll pretty much head to the range that I got done saying Bitcoin would go to if it gets rejected to even lower lows so far. So here for XYO, again, just as a general update for this symmetrical triangle pattern we're seeing right here. Perhaps you could say this is invalidated at this point. I don't think, I mean, especially if we start, if price goes to either, if it goes down to this first target of right here around 0.0058, so around half a penny or so, around this 200 estimated moving average, again, this white one, which we got support back here. So far this band and this lighter blue moving average has been supporting price ever since it broke essentially upwards from the symmetrical triangle. And the only reason why it's really stayed sideways this long is because Bitcoin just hasn't really done anything yet. Obviously, most of you should be aware that Bitcoin predominantly controls the market because it is the fundamental store of value. But if Bitcoin, assuming it goes to 21.5 thousand or even lower, I would hope that we would stay in this yellow box right here. But worst case scenario, I see us coming back down and testing maybe this lower yellow box at around 0.00352, which will present a fantastic buying opportunity, I believe, here for XYO. If we continue to go lower, I mean, I'm not really going to make any projections on that. I'm just going to go ahead and say at this point, I don't think it's going to go below 1/10 of a penny. So, I mean, if we did drop down to like pretty much 1/10 of a penny on the dot, that would give us another 83% move to the downside. At this point, I just really do not see another 83% happening for any altcoin that has a lot of viability behind its project, especially something like XYO, being associated with the metaverse and mapping physical reality into the blockchain. But again, price target for whenever we do continue to break up, and I mean, for all we know, this sideways action, as we've broken out of this symmetrical triangle, could be assuming that I believe the market's going to continue to go up. It may go down a little bit in the short frame, but in the higher frame, it's going to go up. Maybe the sideways consolidation is actually going to be a good thing, and it's just kind of even building up even more explosive pressure towards the upside, and will actually perhaps break upwards and blow straight through this range I've been talking about of around 1/2 penny to 2.5 penny, which lines up with the most major area we would likely get some sort of resistance and consolidation in. Also kind of just lining up with this general support right here, which would likely be flipped into a form of resistance in the upcoming bull market. If we go to this 4-hour chart again, right here we can see with this trend line right here, with respect to the slope as we broke out of the triangle, found the first support right here along this 800 estimating moving average. This is what we've bounced on about concretely so far 2 times, but if you want to count these two, just shy above it 4 times pretty much at this point, once we've broken out of the symmetrical triangle. Again, this kind of generally lining up around 1/2 penny or so, which again is pretty much just approximately what this was saying back here on this previous chart. We don't really see, we are seeing a hidden bullish divergence right here with respect to the price. We can see a positive slope right here for support, all going all the way back here really, and this most recent RSI has had a negative support down here, and this is coming after we saw a hidden bearish divergence, which could just further indicate that perhaps XYO won't go down and it'll continue to pump up even if Bitcoin goes down, or maybe Bitcoin's not going to go down as low as I've been saying and will just continue to go up earlier than what I've been saying. If you take a look at this MACD, it's also just looking rather nice, been converging, spiraling, coiling around the 0 point. Eventually these Bollinger Bands will tighten up, and I think we will finally get that last explosive relief towards the upside, again towards that range that I mentioned of around 1/2 penny to 2.5 penny, again somewhere up here. I believe that it would likely happen within the first 2 weeks of February. Since we've been going sideways so far, I said it could likely happen towards the end of this month. Obviously that's not going to happen at this point. So far things are still looking good, so like I said, and I had been saying that it could likely extend into the first week of next month, but first 2 weeks of next month, I believe at this point right now, seeing a nice explosive move with line confirmation, strength, etc. above pretty much 0.0065, so just a little bit above 1/2 penny, which is kind of just the median. As you can see, I'll just go ahead and zoom in here. It's pretty much, it was the support right here for this area roughly. It is what lined up with support right here, then we got finally rejected below it, and it's essentially, if I just sort of bring it up a little bit more, it's what we've been bumping our heads on, obviously, as you can see right here each time. So it'd be very pivotal, as I said, to get above that. Here on the XYO to Bitcoin chart, this symmetrical triangle is appearing more as a falling wedge, which is a more clearly bullish biased pattern than the symmetrical triangle, more so having a 50-50 outcome. Story for the MACD is essentially the same here. There's not what I said. We are getting that, we did get a hidden, I believe that, I may be naming this wrong if the RSI has a positive resistance and the price has a negative resistance. I'm pretty sure it's a hidden bullish divergence, but I always have so much in my mind that I mess up sometimes, obviously, because we're all human. But anyways, we've broken out of this above, similar again to this previous triangle back here. We haven't really been trading sideways as long. We broke out of this later than we did that symmetrical triangle. And on this one, instead of really getting, as you can see back here, we're finding support on the 800 EMA. This XYO Bitcoin's been getting rejected from this 800 EMA each time. So once we break above this 800 EMA with strength, volume support, etc., on this 4-hour chart, then that will likely confirm the movement towards that range that I said. And once more, to go ahead and point it out, assuming, as I mentioned on that XYO USD chart, if we go to the 1/2 penny to 2/2 penny range, that's going to line up with, let's see, give me a trend line here. So if we break out similar to how we did right here, at some point soon, as you can see, that's going to take our high up to this general bubble right here, roughly, which is, as you can see, this is what lines up with essentially coming back up here and testing these previous highs. Not quite all the way, but testing the previous highs essentially. And as I mentioned on the XYO to Bitcoin chart, that's only going to take us up to about halfway to the previous highs. and I've been saying will act as a premature indicator, essentially saying that XYO is gaining Bitcoin, or gaining momentum over Bitcoin, which factors into why I think we'll see this coin top in, or top out, more so around 6, 7, 8 months into this year, before most of the market, as I have been mentioning. This one's going to be around a 320x. I think it's going to go around $2 to $3 in general, specifically around $2.36 to $2.42, 43 cents. And if you don't notice it yourself, the correlation between how I said Bitcoin to 200, 300,000, XYO to $2 to $3, I feel like that's just an area of confluence that further strengthens what I've been going over this whole time, pretty much in this video. But here for Phantom, I believe right now, so if we do get that a more significant drop down, irrespective of this fractal pattern, which is again taken from the previous bull market, and according to what I said earlier about Bitcoin's logarithmic macro projection over time that I have, according to, I believe, being founded in the mathematics and the halving of Bitcoin, we could likely just continue to say trade sideways slightly above this lighter blue line that you see right here. The price is trading above this darker blue region. If we do get a significant test back downwards, I believe we likely would just come back down to this moving average, or my bad, not this trend line that I have right here around 42, 43 cents, which again, I find it funny that number is popping up. As I mentioned it earlier, Bitcoin around 243 approximately thousand or so. There's just, again, like I said, a lot of confluence with what I'm saying, which is another, I feel like, strengthening factor of my ideas. But I believe we'll kind of just continue to trickle up here, as I said, converging toward this 800 EMA. We will likely consolidate, as you can see. And again, not exactly, but self-similar to this fractal pattern, as we've pretty much been doing so far. As you can see, if we started out right here, we just wavered sideways, had our first move, which this right here. Now sometimes this magnet function just really gets annoying, but right here is what lines up with right here. This area right here lines up with right here, and then obviously this is what lines up with right here. And also, if we just take a look at this, this is pretty much going to form, if it at least looks self-similar, it's pretty much a megaphone pattern, which would then lead us into a nice parabolic, a small, rather, parabolic breakout towards the upside, which again, the megaphone is a bullish pattern if you are not aware of that. I believe, again, once we break up towards the upside for Phantom, we'll continue to head into this range right here, which is correlative to the double top that I have. These trend lines look wonky right here, but I have them drawn on a daily, so that's why they look a little weird right here. But in general, we'll come back up to the previous all-time high range, probably consolidate within this wedge-like range that I have. This was the best mover that I found so far outside of something like SHIB, but I don't really count SHIB as being anything in all honesty, which is a part of the reason why I don't go over it on this channel really. But I believe, like I said, 2000x, if we do get that double pop that I was talking about with Bitcoin earlier, then this could extend as high as 1.618, around $400, $425 or so. First price target range being around $50 to $90. Also, again, you can see with this trend line right here, it acts as a nice trend line going all the way up to this first major move towards the upside, retesting the previous all-time high. Once we lose it, we'll have this W consolidation with a break back above. We'll see some retracement right here, again, with respect to this trend line. Make this move, break back below it, similar to how we did back here, then we'll come up, as you can see, it's touching it pretty much right on the dot right here as well. So I think that's also just another great thing to be seeing here for Phantom as well. If you take a look at the indicators, we are seeing, as you can see, we have a heavy positive support, or my bad, resistance right here for price, whereas the RSI has been going sideways pretty much this entire time, is now starting to taper off towards the downside, which could either liken us to getting a more minorly severe drop towards this range right here. Might wick a little bit below it for all we know, or maybe we'll just continue to slowly go sideways and slowly move upwards. The stock RSI is sitting in the middle range, so that right now to me is just kind of correlating that we could continue to go sideways 50-50, or we could go a little bit lower like I've just been mentioning. But here for JASMY on this 12-hour chart, right now we are testing this moving average that I've been pointing out in my previous updates on this. If we lose this, we could come down to this band range, which is as low as around 0.0045, approximately half a penny. In general, this blue box is the next range, which has a medium price value of 0.004. So again, still essentially just approximately half a penny. Again, we're seeing a bearish divergence right here with RSI. The stock RSI is also in the middle, so it's essentially the same thing I just got done saying for Phantom. Take a look here at THETA. again, essentially the same thing here on the stock RSI, so the RSI up here, then the stock RSI. The stock RSI is a little bit lower than it was for JASMY and Phantom, but it's essentially the same idea for those three indicators. But here for price, we could, in alignment with this fractal pattern, as you can see right here, come down to around, which would meet this band, which is also nice to see as a bounce, around 97 cents, if even lower, as low as 87 cents, as high as 95 cents, with a median of 91 cents. Again, so I didn't mention it on here for JASMY, but the lowest is 0.0036, and the highest being 0.0045. And also, just because I forgot this as well, I may as well just continue to go over my projections for it, if anybody's new watching the videos. But I feel like JASMY is a major wild card. I think it could push as high as $44, which is a 2 million% move, which will give it around a 2.3 billion with a B, $billion market value. And that's if it tops out around the same time as Bitcoin. So Bitcoin can be worth about double what I just said, which was 2.3 billion. Outside of that, I think $8.20 to $20 would probably be the next range it went to, unless for whatever reason JASMY just gets stuck back here at around 27, 30, around 32 to around 17 cents right here, or just retest this previous high right here at around pretty much $3 on the dot or so roughly. And then here for theta, I believe that right now we need to see a major movement above around $1.40. And then once we do that, we need to continue above this 800 EMA at around $1.92. I believe this one will move rather quickly towards the upside, very rapidly. I believe this is also one of the best movers in the market. 460x approximately, 45,000% approximately, will take us up to around $280 to $340 with respect to this consolidative top range right here. Again, this one I think was going to line up more towards, this one didn't see, as you can see back here, this was November 2021 and didn't continue to make a higher high like Bitcoin did. So I think we'll just see a singular top right here, more towards December, January, February. So December 2023 and January, February of 2024 for theta. And again, so I went over those indicators already. So if we're here for TRIAS, again, right here, we could come down and test around $1.85, just $1.80 with some wicks perhaps, which would be lining up with this, coming back down to this band and testing it as we did back here. Back here we hit it and got rejected. Then we printed our pink vector candles right here. Worst case scenario, I think it'd come down to around $1.40. If we start to lose to $1.40 with significant strength, volume, candles start closing significantly below this trend line right here, I think that won't be good, and that will likely mean that Bitcoin has initiated that bear trap that I've been talking about. But it's here for the stock RSI and the RSI. The RSI has also been tapering off, essentially seeing bearish divergences. The stock RSI is completely bottomed out. Doesn't mean anything. We could continue to sit in this lower range like we did back here, and that's when we got the most significant dump right here since we got this uprise right here back at the end of October, essentially towards the end of October. TRIAS is again another wild card. I don't really know where it's going to go because doesn't have enough price data to go back to March for me to interpret it like I have the ones that do have enough data. But as you can see, we got rejected right here for the back in April of 2022 at around $7 on the dot, just about, which right now is going to line up with about $2.80. So if we push up towards that and TRIAS gets significantly rejected again, starts to lose around $2, and then even more so around $1.64, that could spell very bad news for TRIAS. I don't remember the circulating supply, but I interpreted it, or well, I entertained it up to 200,000%. Because that's, like I said, Phantom is the highest that I've seen it's the highest moving coin that I've seen that is a legitimate and viable project. I'm not saying SHIB isn't, and I know SHIB's done like a lot more things, like in terms of like NFTs and has some metaverse correlations and things like that, but I just really don't, I don't like SHIB, I don't like the whole, I don't like it, that's just my thoughts on it. But, I mean, like I said, we could move, if it moves 10,000%, TRIAS could get up to around $85. A 25,000% move would be about $200. 50,000 around $404. 100,000 around $700. $95 to $800, and then 200,000 being around $1,642. Again, general top range I'm expecting for the market in general, like I've said, November, end of November, December of this year, 2023, for the first top, which could likely be in January, February of next year, and for the coins that will see double tops, assuming Bitcoin sees that double top that I mentioned earlier, they will push towards 6 to 7 months, 6, 7, 8 months into 2024. So here for an update on Dogecoin. We are so far correlating nicely to these two fractal patterns out here. The black one don't pay attention to because it's for the 4-day. Here I have this daily one, so the turquoise one. So we could continue sideways here, go down as low as around about 8 cents on the dot or so. If we start to significantly lose 0.068, that won't be good news. If we start to significantly lose 0.065, that would be even worse news. Likely, like I said, that bear trap, maybe we'll just test our lows back here as low as 0.0, essentially 5 cents on the dot, just about. Or maybe we'll continue to go lower from here. But in general, I do believe Dogecoin will kind of just sit relatively sideways here for the most part, according to both of these fractal patterns. The RSI is starting to see some bearish tapering off, some minor bearish divergences. Stock RSI as well is essentially seeing that. But they are both towards this upper range, and I likely, as I've been saying, I said in my previous video, we'll likely to see the RSI move in this upper range for the most of the upcoming bull market right here, as it did in the previous one, which I'll just go and go to the 4-daily chart to show this right here. As you can see, with each of these three bubbles right here, correlating, this is where I took the fractal pattern from. So back here, when we got our pink vector candle at the March bottom to our high right here, as I said, so the 4-day chart shows the pattern being more towards, in terms of its high being set in August, like at 6, 7, 8 months into this year. Whereas when I do it on the daily and I correlate it a little bit more accurately, I believe it puts the high more towards around October of next year, September, October of next year, which is slightly behind when I believe Bitcoin will set its double top. So right now, it just depends. One of these two pathways right here are going to be confirmed with when Dogecoin breaks out of this uppermost range right here. So if it breaks out more at around February of next year, I'd be more inclined to believe this black pattern, which has the high at around 6 to 7 months in this year. But if we break out more towards March, April of this year, then that would likely more so validate the second one being topped out at around September, October of, wait, actually, if I said 2024 for this one, this was also in 2023. So this was what would correlate with Bitcoin hitting its first top. And as I did say for one of the previous coins, I already forgot which one it was, but back here, this was November for Dogecoin last time, and you can see it didn't set another higher high like Bitcoin did for 69,000. So this does nicely line up, which, if I will just go ahead and say, as I think I did say in my previous video, this turquoise one's more likely, because it is, as you can see, like it's almost uncanny how similar this is looking right now. Like it's clearly similar. Like you see our move right here, we have our top, we have, obviously it doesn't look exactly the same. Like I said, it's going to be self-similar, but we see this retracement, consolidation in general right in this area, and then we spike up in accordance with this pattern right here, and you can see how we've essentially ever since then, again, eyeing this turquoise pattern with the actual price move. It came down, went back up, came back down, and now we're just kind of tapering sideways. Hopefully eventually we'll end up going up towards the upside right there eventually. But to go ahead and go to the two new coins in this video, so this one's CRU. There's not any price data hardly, so I can't entertain it. This one's like TRIAS, and same thing for the CSM that I'm going to go over. But it is very nice that we have significantly, here on this 4-day chart, completely broken out of, again, this fan range, trend line range that I have right here from the previous high. Back here only got majorly rejected into the rest of the bear market. We've completely closed this candle and opened it. Well, we haven't closed it yet. We opened out of it so far, so hopefully we will close out of it as well and continue to move up from here. If we do see that retracement, and this moves down significantly with Bitcoin, we could come down to around 84 cents, or about as low as, let's see, probably, well actually, so yeah, about 85, 86 cents. or down to around maybe 65 cents worst case scenario, and that's another thing were to do that. That's 68%. I just don't see, I mean, it could happen. This is an altcoin after all, which means it's more likely to dump heavier than Bitcoin would, but let's go ahead and point it out here. We see our pink vector candles towards our lows, negative support for price, positive support for RSI, bullish divergence. Obviously the RSI is heavily oversold right now, stock RSI as well, so we do need to see some tapering off. Again, same idea for the MACD on here as on every coin that I've gone over recently. Set our lowest low for this MACD shortly after the bear market began. Ever since then, every single coin has been converging towards this zero, so this dashed line, coiling around it, as a MACD should, given that it's a momentum-based indicator and it's signifying in basically an analogy way, like a coil tightening up, compressing over time, building up that pressure that's going to then release towards the upside into a bull market. If this coin moves 1.4 million%, that would take it to the 1.618 at around 7,000. I didn't look at the circulating supply for this coin. I guess you know what, I'm not even going to do it. I personally don't think it'll do that. It could do that, I don't know. It was at previous at $180 and now it's all the way down to 50 cents at the lowest approximately. So this thing could be super explosive. But even if it just goes to, so actually, if it just goes to if it just retests its previous all-time high, that's still a 36,000% move. That's a 360x. That's still one of the best performers in the market. If it, as you can see here, goes to the 1.144 at around $425, that's an 88,000% move, 890x. And then this middle price target I have lines up with the 1.382, which is pretty much the reverse image of the 618, like two sides of the same coin. That's a 360 approximately 1,000% move, so a 3,600x, which again would make it one of the absolute best movers in the market as if it were to do that. Again, likely would top out similar to Bitcoin, whether or not towards the end of this year. Maybe this will be one of the ones that tops out earlier, excuse me, earlier, like I mentioned with XYO. But here for CSM, as I mentioned, or I don't know if I haven't already mentioned, these two coins are correlated in terms of their projects, but this one looks pretty much identical to this one. It just doesn't have this initial bullish moment leap right here as CRU did. But CSM again, pretty much exactly the same. You see on the RSI, positive support on the RSI, negative support on the price, bullish divergence, as you can see. Price has been going down ever since, but this MACD moved up. It has been going sideways ever since, building up that pressure. Again, like a spring coiling up, building up that momentum. It's believed now is starting to release that. We flipped the band right here, and pretty much every moving average printed on this daily chart so far, we've completely broken up above each of these three trend lines right here with respect to these most major wicks back here, which is a good thing to see. RSI is obviously heavy oversold, stock RSI as well. I would say worst case scenario, we just come down, not even that low really. Let's see, let me grab that again. So I'm thinking it's when you go back to Bitcoin and you look at it, this is around first week or so, maybe a few days after the first week in the next month. So if we do that same thing here for this trend line, that's going to take us about as low. I don't think it'll go lower than it's already gone, in all honesty. So we might, for this coin, to see a minor retracement down to this band at around 0.004 essentially. But again, like I said, worst case scenario, because this is an altcoin, doesn't have much data, and I don't know too much about it. Not saying it's a bad thing, but I just don't know too much about it myself. We could go as low as 0.00318, which really isn't that much different from the first one I gave, but that is another, that's a 30% drop, so that's not terrible to endure, but it's not fun either. I did entertain, so from the high to our current low, absolute low, up to the 1.618, that's usually as high as I'll entertain to, taking a macro retracement on a higher time frame. That from the bottom to top, if we went that high, that's only a 1,000% move. This one, 1.382 at around 3 cents, 767% move, 1.144, just a little bit below 2 pennies at around 500%. So that's terrible movement, absolutely terrible movement. Although this thing could completely explode. So I mean, let's see. I'm actually going to look up the circulating supply for this coin. I'm just going to go ahead and do it because I'm actually curious about this, thinking about it now. I don't think that's it. None of these might be it at the same time. This seems like a very... Is that what this is worth now? No, it's not. Let's see. I don't think this is going to be it either. Okay. Okay, so it is. Are these at the same price? Okay, obviously they're not. I don't know why I'm asking myself that. At this point I'm mumbling to myself, obviously, but... Okay, so the circulating supply of this is 100 million. Have the max supply of 200 million, so 50% of it is currently out. So, let's see. The highest we could go to with 100 million in the supply, assuming Bitcoin hits like 4.7 to 5.7 trillion, that's going to be, so if it goes to $500, that's going to be, let's see, 50, oh, well, so it could go to $500 and it would only be worth 50 billion. So if it goes to $500, which that is what, good grief, so if it goes to around $500, that's a 15.3 million% move, which, like I said, is only going to give it a $50 billion market value. So I mean, technically it could do that. That's a 15 million% move, though. I don't know if anything, like in the history, yeah, I don't think, actually, I'm going to find this out here real quick. The only thing I think that may have done that, maybe like Saitama. If none of y'all know what Saitama is, Saitama had moved a lot. So I mean, Bitcoin's very first cycle from top to bottom moved 5 million% essentially. So I mean, let's just say this wants to move 5 million% instead of the 15 million% that I just said there. So 5 million% gives it a price target of, at this point, this is insanely wild speculation that I'm doing, obviously. But if it moves 5 million%, let's see here, I'm still nowhere near it. 5 million% is going to be around $150 or so, which would only give it around like a 15, 18, 19 trillion dollar, or my bad, $1 million market value or so, roughly. But again, like I said, I would take everything I just said about this to a grain of salt. This could end up moving terribly, like I mentioned, or because it is very cheap, it has a higher likelihood of moving a massive percentage gain because of the fact that it's very cheap, which is, again, going back to SHIB, why it ended up moving over 1 million% during the last bull market, because it started out at such an insanely low price. But that was essentially all that I wanted to go over here in this video. Again, just to go over Bitcoin again towards the end. I think it's likely, I'll just say 50-50, usually that's what I just like to say in general, but 50-50, we continue up from here, or we continue down to approximately 21.5 thousand. Again, if we start to lose 21.5 thousand and 21,000 with strength, especially then start to go below 20,000, 19,000, that is likely going to initiate that bear market that I've been talking about, or that will just be an overextended, in quotes, healthy retracement towards the downside, which would kind of more accurately kind of just act out as a scare tactic, I believe, for the Bitcoin price in general. I'll touch on this fear and greed here real quick, but you can see right here, it's almost barely not cut off. Right now in the neutral, it's at 51. Earlier today, it was at 61. Like, we're going to see this go down a little bit as we retrace here. Who knows? I'm curious how low go. I bet it's going to go to, like, if we get this retracement down to 21.5, 21,000, I could see it going towards like maybe 40, 45, maybe even like 35, 38 or so. If we start to go back to 19,000, I mean, we could likely see this go back down into like the high 20s, or maybe just like the first range I said of like 35 to 42, 43 or so. But once more, that was all that I wanted to go over in this video. I hope all of you enjoyed the content. Hopefully you're able to take away something from this video and learn something from it as well. Outside of that, I hope all of you have a blessed day.
Ooh, I'm regretting now, won't I see you forever, such a